Hello students, today we will learn about migration. So, before we start the lesson, we should know what is migration. We should know the definition of migration. So, what is migration? Migration is the movement of either people or animals from one place to another permanently or temporarily. That means if people or animal go from one place to another permanently or temporarily, those people or animals will be called migrants. So migration means movement of people or animals from one place to another is called migration. It may be permanently or it may be temporarily. In our lesson, we will learn about the human migration only, not the animals migration. Okay, so next is basis of enumeration of migration. There is two bases for the enumeration of migration in India. Firstly, place of birth, and the second is place of residence. If the place of birth is different from the place of enumeration, it is known as the lifetime migration, or people who migrate from his place of birth to the place of enumeration are called the lifetime migrant. And the second base, what is the second base? Place of residence. If the place of last residence is different from the place of enumeration, is known as the migration by place of last residence. So, if people move one place to another, then after that in the other place, so in that case he changes his residence frequently. So if the place of enumeration is different from his previous place of residence, he will be called as a migrant by place of last residence. Okay, so there is two bases, place of birth and place of residence. Okay, next, stream of migration. What is the stream of migration? Stream of migration means the flow of people, flow of migrants from one place to another. The direction of flow is called the stream of migration. There is two types of areas in our country. One is rural area and the other is urban area. So, on the basis of rural and urban areas, we can see four types of stream of migration. First, rural to urban. Next, urban to rural. Third, rural to rural, and fourth is urban to urban. So, stream of migration is in our country is of four types: rural to rural, urban to urban, urban to rural, and rural to urban. Next, take a look about the gender selective stream of migration. That means male migrant, in the case of male migrant, from where to where they migrate, and in the case of female migrants, where they migrate. That means dominancy of male migrant or dominancy of female migrant in the different stream of, in the case of different stream of migration. Firstly, interstate migration. Interstate migration is mainly dominated by male migrant. Interstate migration means from one state to another. As for example, if a man goes from Punjab to Maharashtra, he will be a migrant of interstate. He will be an interstate migrant. It is mainly dominated by male migrants. Why? Interstate migration is mainly due to in search of employment, in search of jobs. So, male migrants migrate interstate in search of employment or jobs. Next is intrastate migration. Intrastate migration is dominated by female migrants. Intrastates means from one place to another place in a particular state. So, interstate migration may be from one district to another district of a particular state, one city to another city of a particular state. That means intrastate migration means inside a particular state, migration inside a particular state. So, intrastate migration is dominated by female migrants. It may be for marriage purpose. Mainly the cause of female dominancy of female migrants in the case of intrastate migration is the marriage. After marriage, females go other places inside the state. Next is rural to rural migration. Rural to rural migration is dominated by female migrants mainly. Rural to rural migration is dominated by female migrants. The cause of this female dominancy in the case of rural to rural migration is also the marriage. And next is rural to urban migration. This type of migration, this stream of migration is dominated by male migrants. The main cause is employment. Rural to male migrants go rural to urban areas in search of jobs, employment. So, rural to urban migration is dominated by male migrants. And the last is urban to urban migration. This type of migration, this type of stream of migration is also dominated by urban to urban migration is dominated by male migrants. And the last is urban to rural migration. Urban to rural migration is dominated by old aged people. Why? Because after their retirements they go to rural areas from urban areas to live. So, this is the cause of old aged persons urban to rural migration. Next, the spatial variation of migration in India. Areas of in-migration, that means where immigration occur. Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana attract migrants from other states. So, in the case of Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana, we can see that inward migration. We can see here inward migration or immigration. Why? Because these states are economically developed states and attract more and more people to come there. And on the other hand, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar have largest number of out migrants. Why? Because these states are not so developed economically. So large number of people leave these states and go to another states in search of jobs, in search of employment, or for other reasons. So the main reason for these variations is the differential socio-economic development of states. Take a look on the map. The Bihar and Uttar Pradesh indicated by blue colored arrows. The dominancy of outward migrants can be seen in these two states, and the states indicated by red colored arrow, the Maharashtra, Gujarat, Haryana and Delhi, there is dominancy of inward migration or immigration. Next, what are the causes of migration? There is two types of causes, two types of factors that causes the migration. First one is push factor and the second one is pull factor. Which are the push factors? The factors which force the people to leave a place are called push factors. Poverty, unemployment, overcrowding, lack of health and education facilities, natural disasters like flood, drought, earthquake, cyclone, tsunami, etc. are the main push factors. So there is mainly two types of push factors. Number one is natural push factors and number two is socio-economic push factors. Poverty, unemployment, overcrowding, lack of health and education facility, these are the socio-economic pull factors, and the flood, droughts, earthquakes, cyclones, tsunami, these are the natural push factors. Next, what are the pull factors? Pull factors are those factors that attract people from other places are called pull factors. Employment, higher wages, better opportunities for education, health facilities, sources of entertainment are the important pull factors. Next, the consequences of migration. There are four types of consequences of migration. These are economic consequences, demographic consequences, social consequences and environmental consequences. In the case of economic consequences, there are two types of consequences. First one is remittance. When a migrant migrates to the other state or to the other country, he earns money and send the money to the source region. So the source region can be developed by using this money. So investment rate can maybe increase in the source region. So remittances is the main consequences of migration. The next is economic growth. The migration causes economic growth to the both source region and the destination region. How? In the source region, when the migrant send money to the source region, the investment increases and the economic growth the source region will economically develop. And in the case of destination region, if a resource person goes to a destination region, migrates to a destination region and participate in the development activities, so the destination region will also grow economically. Next, demographic consequences. In the case of demographic consequences, there are three types of consequences: redistribution of population, change in rural-urban sex ratio, decrease fertility rate. Redistribution of population means population. In the first chapter, you read about the uneven distribution of population. Migration causes redistribution of population. That means if we see the rural urban stream of migration, more and more people migrate to the urban areas from rural areas. As a result, the density of population in the rural areas decreases and the density of population in the urban areas increases. This is called the redistribution of population. Next is change in rural-urban sex ratio. As more and more male migrate to the urban areas from rural areas, the sex ratio of rural areas increases. That means the number of females per thousand males increases. But in the case of urban areas, the sex ratio will decrease. Why? Because the male migrates to the urban areas, so the number of female population per thousand male population will decrease, so the sex ratio will decrease. And the third is decrease fertility rate. Migration causes the decrease of fertility rate. So why? Because if a person migrates to the other state, he will detached from his spouse, so the fertility rate will be automatically decreased. Next is social consequences. First, cultural diffusion, cultural assimilation and cultural fusion. Cultural diffusion means new ideas and technologies diffused from source region to other regions. That means if a migrant goes to the urban areas, he will learn new inventions, new ideas, new technologies, and when he will come to his source region, he will also teach the people of that source region about the new ideas, new technologies. This is called cultural diffusion. Cultural assimilation is also a social consequence of migration. Cultural assimilation means intermixing of culture among people. When people migrate in an area, there is intermixing of population occur. So various cultures are intermixed with each other. So the cultural assimilation occurs, and the formation of new ideas and invention, new technologies is called cultural fusion. It is also a consequence of migration. And the second is a negative social consequence. It is social conflict. Social conflict means when people gather, people of various culture gather in an area, there is differences between their thoughts. So there may be conflict. Conflict may be arise. Social conflict may be arise. So social conflict is a consequence of migration. And the last one is environmental consequences. What are the environmental consequences? Overcrowding and slum development. Number 2, pollution and sewage problems. Number 3, groundwater depletion. Overcrowding and slum development means More and more migrants go to the urban areas. As a result, the urban areas become overcrowded. So, the pressure of population in the urban areas increases and the slum areas are developed in the urban areas. Number 2, pollution and sewage problems. When an area is overcrowded, pollution may be occur. More and more urbanization causes pollution and sewage problems. We can see the slum areas sewage problem. We can see the sewage problems in the slum areas, and these sewage problems also causes pollution in these areas. And the last is groundwater depletion. Groundwater depletion is in the urban areas. Groundwater is depleted very much due to overcrowding. So the supply of drinking water is gradually decreases. So it is also a environmental consequence of migration. Okay, thank you.